You will come to the end of this life, but you will never die. You will make a smooth, painless transition into the next realm where you'll have wonderful reunions with the people and pets you love. Today, we have many thousands of communications from people living in the afterlife describing what happened to them when their bodies died. In this video, I explain what we've been told happens to people when they enter the next life, and I provide the statements by 4 people describing what happened to them after their bodies died. Hello, I'm Dr. R. Craig Hogan, President of the Afterlife Research and Education Institute and Seek Reality Online. I'm the author of 8 books with the evidence you will come to the end of this life, but you will never die. When the body dies, body experiences stop, but the person hasn't changed. Those who have made the transition all remark how easy the transition is. There is no pain at the transition, even for those who have experienced a catastrophic death. Those whose bodies die after illness often have afterlife visitors come during the time leading up to the body's death. They often say the visitors have come to take them on a trip. At the moment of the transition, a profound sense of peace comes over them. After the transition, the person has a young, healthy body with no pain or defects. A person who dies suddenly may experience being out of their lifeless body looking down at it. People in the room with the dying person may notice an unusual mist and a silver or gray cord. There's a sense of strings snapping as the separation occurs. Monsignor Robert Hugh Benson, speaking from spirit through the medium Anthony Borgia, described his own transition. He said the transition was so seamless he didn't even notice it happening. He had no indication he had made the transition, except that suddenly the physical sensations of his illness had left him, and he experienced a profound feeling of peace. This is a narrated summary of what he said about his transition from the life in the world unseen.
I previously shared with you the story of how, during my final moments of earthly sickness, I felt an irresistible urge to rise up and transition into the afterlife. The transition was so seamless that I remained fully conscious and in possession of my senses. However, I can further specify that there came a moment when the physical sensations of my illness suddenly ceased, and a sense of ease and peace engulfed me. I felt the urge to take a deep breath, and I did. This marked the moment of my physical death and birth into the spiritual realm. Despite the transition, I found myself still in my earthly bedroom, suggesting that the spirit world and the physical world interpenetrate each other in some way. In the afterlife, I had a tangible body similar to my physical one, but without any aches, pains, or illnesses.
When a person's body dies from an explosion, horrendous car accident, or other sudden catastrophic event, there may be a brief coma or period of unconsciousness during which the event takes place. There is never any pain. There are accounts of people being taken away from the impending disaster and watching it happen from the safety of a lofty position. In one example of the ease with which the transition takes place, Thomas Dowding, a 37-year-old British soldier killed in World War I, described his transition as he was killed on the battlefield. Through medium Wellesley Tudor Pole, Dowding recounted feeling himself outside his body shortly after being struck by a shell fragment. This is a narration of what he said about his transition.
The evening was pleasant, and I had no indication of danger until the sound of a shell whizzing past me, followed by an explosion. Suddenly, something struck my neck with such force that I instinctively crouched, but it was too late. I felt an intense, crushing sensation in my neck that I will never forget. This was the only unpleasant incident that I recall. I fell to the ground, and without losing consciousness, found myself outside my body. It is a simple story, but you will understand it better this way. Death is such a small incident. Just a moment ago, I was alive in every earthly sense, standing near a trench parapet with no fear or distress. Then, in just 5 seconds, I was standing outside my body, helping my friends carry my body down the trench towards the dressing station. They believed I was unconscious, but alive. I had no idea if I had left my body due to shell shock temporarily or permanently. You see, death, even in the context of violent war, is such a small occurrence. I felt as if I was in a dream. It was like a dream in which something had hit me, so I fell over. Now, I dreamt that I was outside my body. I kept thinking I would awaken and be ready to go on guard duty. It all happened so effortlessly. Death was a simple experience for me. There was no horror, no prolonged suffering, and no struggle. It occurs in a similar way for many. Like me, thousands of soldiers cross over without realizing it. There is no shock of physical death. The shock comes later when one comprehends what has happened. In my case, I did not know anything other than what I have already shared at the time. When I realized that my friends could carry my body without my assistance, I fell behind them. I followed them in a curiously humble manner. Humble because I felt useless. We encountered a stretcher party, and they hoisted my body onto the stretcher. I wondered when I would get back into my body. I was still physically alive in my mind. Consider this for a moment before moving on. A shell fragment struck me, and I felt no pain. My body had been robbed of life. Again, there was no pain. Then I discovered that everything that thinks, feels, sees, and knows was still alive and aware. I had started a new chapter of life. Let me describe what it felt like. It was akin to running hard, and when I was hot and breathless, I threw away my overcoat. The coat was my body, and if I had not discarded it, I would have suffocated. There is no other way to describe the sensation.
There are many accounts of floating out of the body in the moments after the body is abandoned. The person suddenly is standing next to their lifeless body with no experience of the separation. Some of the descriptions note a snapping of what seems to be strings attaching the person's spirit to the body. This account is given by a physician in the life after this life, communicating through a medium.
As I approached the moment of my physical passing, I felt myself being gradually lifted from my body in a hazy, half-awake state. It was as if I was fragmented into different parts, yet still connected in some unbreakable way. Soon after my physical body had ceased all functions, my spirit was released, and my form became whole again. I rose a short distance above my body, suspended by an unknown force. From this vantage point, I observed those in the room with me, and deduced that a significant amount of time had passed since my physical death. It's possible that I was unconscious for a period, as this seems to be a common occurrence, although not universal.
People close to the person making the transition often describe phenomena in the room. A sudden light, at times blinding, a white, gray, or blue-white soul mist coming up from the body, a vaporous body shape with the features of the transitioning person, a silver or gray cord or many threads from the body connecting to the vaporous body shape that dissolve or snap, the vaporous body rising and disappearing into a corner of the room, and the vision of loved ones who have come to escort the person from the earth realm. Some report seeing a transfer of energy from the physical body to the new separate body, called an etheric body or a spirit body or an astral body, that is a duplicate of the physical body. The spirit seems to move toward the head and exit from the top of the head, although some have described witnessing some vaporous form exiting from the solar plexus. These phenomena are described by Dr. R.B. Hout, a physician who gave this account of his personal observations at the deathbed of his aunt. This is a narration of his account.
I became aware of something in the room that was previously undetectable by my physical senses. A hazy, fog-like substance hung suspended about 2 feet above the bed, gradually forming into the distinct outline of a human form resembling my aunt's physical body. The physical body was writhing in pain, while the spirit body was calm and peaceful, with a luminosity emanating from it. As I watched, my attention was drawn to a silver cord connecting the physical and spirit bodies at the base of the skull. With each pulsation of light along the cord, the spirit body became more alive, while the physical body grew quieter and weaker. My deceased uncle and cousin also appeared in the room. Eventually, the last connecting strand of the silver cord snapped, and the spirit body was free to rise and stand erect behind the bed. It paused momentarily before ascending upward, with a smile of farewell breaking from its radiant features. This event was witnessed by me as an entirely objective reality, with the aid of my physical eye, over a period of 12 hours.
All of the accounts from people now living in the afterlife who have explained what happened during their transition from Earth to the next realm of life describe it as being easy and painless. No one needs to fear the end of this life. We will have an easy, painless transition, like suddenly falling asleep and waking up in beautiful surroundings, free of pain and physical ailments, with all the people and pets we love there to greet us.